This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and I just got back from the CMON Expo where I get to play a lot of upcoming games that are coming from CMON and some of the newer ones that they're releasing around now. Now, one of the games that I was most impressed with is a game called Gizmos. And in this game, you're trying to basically build and research and grab different gizmos and put them all together, allow them to run, and use those things to build your engine to score the most points and try to race towards the end. So I'm going to show you and give you a little bit of a high-level overview of how the game works. I took some pictures of the game while I was there. I'm going to sort of explain to you how this works at a high level, and I'll see you on the end for sort of my first impressions after playing one full game of it. Gizmos is an engine building game for 2 to 4 players where you'll be building different gizmos, like some of the ones you see here on these cards, putting them in your play area, running those, and allowing those engines to build over the course of the game. All the gizmos are in the middle of the table. There's 3 different levels as you see here, but each player is going to have their own player board where they'll be keeping cards above and below their player boards as they build their engines. On a player's turn, they're simply going to select one of these 4 actions: file, pick, build, or research, and the turns go pretty quick. In this case, let's say we want to pick. In the middle of the table is a contraption with tons of marbles and about 6 of them in a spout out front that you can take one of those marbles for your pick action, and these are going to be marbles that are sort of energy that you're going to use to be able to build the different gizmos over the course of the game. Think of them as the main resource in the game. And each player is able to hold their energy within the ring next to their player board. Now you might have some energy, but maybe not quite enough to get the card you want, so you can actually do file for one of your actions, and that's essentially to reserve one of the cards in the main play area. You simply just take any one of these, and you would actually place it above where it says file. Now just below file, you see this is a special ability everybody starts with. Essentially it says, hey, when you file, you get to pick a marble from inside the top of that big contraption. Now you don't get to look, but there's a lot of marbles in there and you'll be pulling one out randomly to put into your supply. Now once you have enough of those marbles of the like type, you can build them on your turn. And so you basically would take it and you would place it where it's supposed to go. If you look at these 2 different cards here under the pick, on the upper left-hand corner of those has the pick icon. That means you put it under that pick action, and then anytime you take that pick action, you're going to run those gizmos and essentially run that engine. In this case, both of these cards do the same thing where it says anytime I specifically take the pick action and take a black marble, well, I'll get to pick one from that top of the dispenser without looking. So anytime I take a black marble in this case, I'm going to get 2 marbles from the center working that engine. And how do you build these? Well, in the lower left-hand corners, you can see the number and a color, and that tells you how many of those colored marbles you need in order to build those. Sometimes the cards you have will run engines when you do the build action. Like here, anytime you build a red type of gizmo, you'll get an extra point. Plus, all of the points in the upper right-hand corners of all these cards score you points at the end of the game. Now on the right there you see research. This is an action that you take when you really want to get a card that's not really out in the display. You can research the deck. And you'll see the 3 different levels of cards shows you what range of those marbles you need in order to get them. So with the level 3, you're going to need between 4 and 7. Level 2, you need between 2 and 3. And level 1, they're always just 1. So in the research, you get to take some cards off the top of any of those decks and hopefully try to build one of them. So for example, you take some cards off level 3 and hopefully you could build one of these and place it in your display where it belongs. And as you can see, the level 3 ones, they cost more to get, but they have pretty powerful abilities that do different things. Now at the beginning of the game, you're limited to how many marbles, 5, how many cards you can file above your player board, 1, and how many cards you pull in your research, 3, as shown on the upgrades. But some of the gizmos you build will increase those limitations, like being able to hold an extra energy, or filing more, or researching more. So that's part of the engine building as well, as opening up your capacity in different levels. And this continues to be played until one player has gotten 16 gizmos. The game will end at the end of that round, and then whoever has the most points is the winner. All right, so that's at a high level how Gizmos sort of works. And so let's get into the things I liked about it. Again, this is just after one full playthrough, which with 4 players took close to an hour. I'd say probably maybe about 50 minutes. From what the box says and what talking to them, it sounds about average. So first of all, cool theme. Putting together different gizmos. The artwork fits so well with this. and the iconography is very good. So you've got that sort of thing where you're trying to build these things, they look really cool on the table, all the different things that you're trying to build. And it has table presence because you're grabbing those different marbles, and it has that big stand, almost like how sort of Potion Explosion had a lot of, it's table presence because it's this big thing with all these marbles that people are grabbing at. This sort of has that same thing of that table presence. I like that it's simple and quick turns, even with 4 players, because basically you just have 4 options on your turn. You're going to be filing or building or picking or researching. That's it. So when it comes down to your turn, you pretty much usually know what you're going to be doing, and things move pretty quick, and the pacing of this game is very good. Now, this game at its heart is an engine builder, and I think it does it in an amazing way. It's very streamlined, it's very engaging. And you're doing things and you're building engines, so like maybe every time you pick new marbles, you're getting to pick extra ones. Or maybe every time you have a certain type of marble, you're able to convert that into a different marble, or multiples of different marbles. Or maybe when you're building things and you build certain types of gizmos, then you're gonna be getting extra points for those. So I like how the engine building really gets you down a strategy. And if you like engine building, this is one that everyone I've played with and everyone I talked to at the CMON Expo Center was very high on, and I am as well. I like that even though it's streamlined and even though your turns are very fast, as you start to build that engine and you're about, half to maybe 5/8 of the way through the game, comes someone's first big turn, where they're able to really, boom, I'm doing this, which allows me to do this, which allows me to do this, which allows me to do that. And it's like, oh, that was cool. So you can have these really cool, huge turns, but even when doing that, the game still moves pretty quickly. I like that it's a race to sort of 16 gizmos. But even if you're racing, you might not win because maybe a lot of the gizmos you had are worth 1 point, and people took more time to get the things to build up to get the the gizmos that have more than that. So I like that it is sort of a race. You're trying to do things as streamlined as possible, get the most points as possible, and it ends at a certain time. So it is sort of a race. But it's not just the first one that gets their wins. It's really points. So you have that push and pull over how fast do you want to go, what are you trying to do, which ones do you want to spend the more time on, and things like that. And I liked it. For me, this game is sort of like, after just one play, feels like a really good next step game to Splendor, where sure, Splendor is a great engine builder with Spiel des Jahres, all that sort of things. And this game is in that same vein, but I think there's more going on here. I think this is a great game for those gamers. First of all, I mean, all of us were gamers that played it, and we all really were high on it after we played it for this first time. But it's one of those games where, you can play Splendor with anybody. I could play it with people that don't typically play games because it's very simple. And this is like, if they like that and they want something the next step of depth, this is a great step to do that. So I would still call this sort of a light medium game, but it is definitely a next step after Splendor. It's a good next step if you like that game to teach people. So overall, I really liked it. Anything I didn't like? Well, the game is not done. This was sort of a prototype of theirs, a far along prototype. And there are lots of icons, and one of the positives was the iconography is great, and it is great. But the game could possibly use a little player aid where people could see what those are, so they can look at the cards and just look at the player aid and see what they are. So that's my only suggestion, is I hope they do come out with a player aid for people. Again, after playing the game probably 2 to 3 times, you'll probably never need it again, but for those learning the game, it will make it easier. So again, I've only played this once, but my initial impressions are very high. I think this game's going to be received very well. Now, CMON is going to, hopefully, they cross their fingers and say we're going to be trying to come out for this thing at Gencon. So hopefully this will come out at Gencon. If it is, and you like engine builders, and you want that weight of game that's a little bit deeper than Splendor, but still is very quick and engaging, this is going to be one to check out. It's one I thoroughly enjoyed and can't wait to play more of it, and that is Gizmos from CMON.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.